Welcome back to The Give and Go. I am your co-host, Reynoso, here with my boy,
Soltero. What's up, guys?
USA.
Let's go, baby.
I let you do that.
It's been a long time coming for this day. I've been so excited for the USA to finally take the pitch at the Copa America here in 2024 in Dallas, Texas. And my God, what a show we got. The game starts off with Christian Pulisic in the second minute with an absolute screamer. And that was the game.
Yeah,
that was it, man. I mean, let's be completely honest. It's a really good win, but I didn't overhype the Mexico win yesterday against Jamaica. I don't want to overhype this one because I think the first point that I realistically have to make here, Bolivia were poor, man. They were horrible to the point where, I mean, this just almost wasn't a game.
It's tough to get an analysis out of it. Bro. Like, truly, that's the thing. When the disparity is this big, like, obviously, I would have said something if USA struggled against Bolivia, but because they didn't, there's nothing to take away here, bro. The only takeaway, or rather question I have for the chat is, if Bolivia was in the MLS, there's 29 teams in the MLS, where would they rank? Are they worse than the worst MLS team?
Dude, that's actually a really good question. I'd say that the only thing Bolivia did well today was they played it as tight and compact as they possibly could. They pressured USA's midfield, and honestly, after Pulisic scored for like 25 minutes, that pressure really did rattle. You know, rattle's a big word there, but it made it uncomfortable for the USA midfield. And for the USA, I would actually say there are some negatives. The negative being, it looks sloppy at times. There's a lot of misplaced passes. I thought we looked a little too impatient when we wanted to move the ball forward, but I don't want to take it as too much of a criticism for the USA because they knew they were playing Bolivia. They knew they didn't have to be on point. And I think the players were just like, all right, we're going to be in second gear all game long. We don't have to play our best against this team, and we will still kill them. That's exactly what happened. This game could have ended 3-4, 5-0 to the USA. It only ends 2. Pepe could have had a goal or two as well. So yes, you could nitpick a little bit from the USA, but ultimately I don't even want to because Bolivia just did not make this competitive whatsoever.
No, it feels like low-key like this was a friendly, bro. It was a friendly, and USA got the job done, and honestly, I give them credit for it because ultimately they didn't let this result get dramatic. They didn't let it get close. 2 minutes in, the LeBron James of soccer stepped up and cooked and scored a beautiful goal to give them the lead 1-0. Then after that, it was basically over. I want to highlight the two strikers up top for Bolivia, Menacho and Miranda. They got sent into a suicide mission today, bro. Suicide mission, There was no hope. All the opportunities they had to at least try to hold up the ball or get on the ball were shut down by Chris Richards and Tim Ream. I think every single time. Like, I genuinely can't think of one single time they were able to hold up the ball and possess it and create an attack from it. Suicide mission, man. Tough game for the Bolivians up front, and it showed because they had 2-3 shots on target, I think, throughout the entire match. If that, they struggle, man. This Bolivia team struggled, and ultimately, the USA gets an important 2-0 victory here. And honestly, I was trying to think about what the negatives are, what the criticisms are. I was trying to think about the angle of, maybe not blowing out this Bolivia side, maybe not getting 4 or 5 goals the way that they could have if Pepe had finished his opportunities. But that brings on a bigger question of, does it really matter if the USA or Uruguay finish in first or second when the opponents that are most likely waiting for you guys is Colombia or Brazil? Therefore, I want to pose a question to the chat. Who would you rather face in the quarterfinals? Let's be honest. Brazil or Colombia? Because on paper, you would think Brazil because of the history and the names and the flair that they have. But looking at the form, looking at the drama behind the team, they're not as good as they've been in the past. They're still incredibly good, though. Don't get me wrong. And Colombia, I mean, they're so hot right now.
They're so hot.
And the USA just faced them in a friendly, lost 5-1. I wonder what kind of mental aspect they would have over them. And then just, it's a really hot team right now in world football that I think is honestly a little bit more scary. So I think it's a tough task. It's two teams that I think are ultimately very, very, very scary teams to face off against. So I want to know who you guys would rather have, and I want to know who you would rather have in regards to your quarterfinal draw, because I think it's pretty clear that you guys are going to get out of this group. It's just a question of if it's in first or second.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I wouldn't mind who we get. I'm scared of Brazil simply because of Vinicius. He's the type of player that I think really could hurt our center back positions, for example, Chris Richards and especially Tim Ream, I don't think they're very good against pacey players. But fortunately, if we can shut down Vinicius, then I know we would be able to shut down the rest of this Brazilian squad because there's not a lot of standouts outside of Vinicius and maybe Endrick, right? So that would be a lot more easy to deal with if we can get Vinicius. Colombia is interesting because they don't have standouts, but their team form right now is so good that it might not matter really who we mark well. So I'd actually rather take Brazil just because of their current form. But if they turn it on in this group stage, then it's not going to matter who we face.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams, for me, will end up beating the USA. But regardless, I think I'd rather go Brazil, bro. I'll be honest, especially after that friendly result. Colombia, I think, might have a mental edge over the USA with that friendly and what they were able to do. And also just the form that they're in. I think Colombia is a team that I wouldn't want to face. And it seems like the chat agrees because they would rather face Brazil with 77% and Colombia at 22%. As I mentioned, Brazil has the history. But right now, they're just a little questionable. I'm interested to see how they play tomorrow against Costa Rica to start off their campaign.
Yeah, and that just might not be another good or what do you call it? Like, example indication to see if Brazil will be that good because I mean, Costa Rica, they just don't have a lot of talent right now. But maybe Costa Rica make it as tight as they can. Who knows?
Yeah. Pedro Celi says, honestly, get whoever is second in their group. Doesn't matter if it's Brazil or Colombia. Burn Roddy says, I'm Uruguayan and I have this mentality. If you want to win the cup, you need to beat everyone. Our target is Argentina. If we lose versus Brazil, Colombia, then it's mission not accomplished. I agree with that.
I agree. You can't, even if USA and Uruguay are already qualified going into that last match, you have to treat it like it's a knockout stage game. USA should go for the 3 points against Uruguay. Uruguay, the same thing against the United States. And then from there, you try to get your path to the final.
Now, here's an interesting question. I want you to answer this one. Watemek says, I don't understand. USA should have wiped the floor of Bolivia, but got a 2-0 result. Yet here are a lot of people being happy with this result. Why?
And this goes back to what I said basically at the beginning of this whole USA take. This wasn't a match. And I know it seems like I'm making trying to brush this aside and say the USA played as good as they could. No. For me, it's just that since Bolivia did not really come out to play against the United States just took it very easily. And so I'm okay with the 2-0. We already showed that we should have scored 3, 4, or 5 goals. We didn't put them away. That can be a little bit of a criticism, but overall, we dominated Bolivia, and I don't even think we played our best. So if we did play our best, we would have murdered this side. So I'm fine with this. I trust this United States team when we do play against Panama and Uruguay to step up our level.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. The gap is just so clear today, man. Like I'm not going to look into the final result. It was so clear. Even if it got tied at one point, I think the USA would have clutched it out and gotten the result. For Bolivia, where do they rank in the Americas? What country are they most comparable to? Is it like El Salvador? Are they better than Honduras? Chat, let me know. Where does this team rank? Because I was really thinking about this, like, the Copa America, in my eyes, is a tournament made to decide which is the best team of the Americas, which is why I really like that CONCACAF is part of this conversation now. But, part of me was wondering, like, why did Bolivia get in versus teams like, I don't know, Honduras, who showed promise, teams like El Salvador at one point?
Yeah.
Bolivia looks pretty bad. Yeah. And I'm wondering, where would they rank in the general consensus of the Americas here if they didn't get automatic qualification just because they're in CONMEBOL?
I would put Bolivia at like a very average or honestly subpar Central American team, Like when Honduras are doing really poor, I think that's where I would put Bolivia. Just because, even at times Honduras at least have, El Choco Lozano to feed up top. Bolivia had nobody. There was zero chance creation. Again, it goes back to why I'm not being too hard on the United States because they didn't have to worry about Bolivia whatsoever. So are you going to be really up for a match like that? Again, I know it sounds like an excuse, but it's just the truth. Like, Bolivia didn't make this a game. I can't say the USA are hot right now either, though. I'm not going in either direction. This is a neutral result for the United States. It's an easy win at the end of the day. We barely sweated in this match.
No, bro, I am so eager to go off on the USA. But I'm not going to do that on this match because
not on this match.
I can't. I have to wait. I'll gladly wait, sit back, and let them face off against a much tougher team. I think that's what we're all looking for. But I'm seeing a lot of shouts for Guatemala. They're Guatemala level. I could see that. I like that.
See that, yeah. I like that. Because at the end of the day, Bolivia were organized defensively. Like they weren't stretched too much by the United States, but they were clearly inferior.
Bro, low-key, that Guatemala-Bolivia match would go hard. I'd go hard, but I actually don't know who. I think Guatemala might edge it. I'm gonna be honest. Christopher Molina says Bolivia has not one standout player, literally full of nobodies.
Literally,
Jesus Christ.
It's a little disappointing for them.
Ed says Bolivia is trash, and PG says Bolivia became over-reliant on their home field advantage, and they just don't have a particularly decent generation. That's true as well. Yeah. And so that's Bolivia. But for the USA, let's touch on them a little bit more. Talk about the USA just a little bit more. Standout player for you today? Who's the man of the match for the USA today? Chat, let me know.
I mean, I'm going to go Pulisic. Obviously, the goal to break it at the second minute was beautiful. It was such a good shot. Nice looping ball. Sneaked in right under the bar. Goalkeeper got a touch to it, but it wasn't enough to keep it out. And then just beyond that, he was marked all game long, as he always is in every single match. And he always finds space. He always finds a way to, just get past players, combine with midfielders, McKinney, Musa, and Adams. So I thought Pulisic was fantastic today, just like he always is when he dons the USA jersey.
Pulisic had he had a couple of plays that I wish he could have gotten a better shot on, because he got past like 2 or 3 Bolivian defenders, and he was putting on an absolute show. Getting that early goal was big, I think, for the USA's confidence. He took over. Pulisic was easily the MVP of the game, says Brian Campos. Captain America in the chat. That's what I'm seeing. And that reminds me, give us a thumbs up right now if you're a USA fan, because I think we got USA fans in the chat right now. Thumbs up the stream for us, please. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, comment, everything. You guys know the motion needed here. Thank you guys so much. But going back to it now, or do you want to read a chat?
One chat. JRod13. US should have won by more. Let's be honest. Soltero. You're saying it's no excuse for using it as an excuse. It's really interesting, though, because you look at the Uruguay-Panama match. Uruguay should have scored 8 goals in that game, but it only ended 3-1. The same differential that the USA just beat Bolivia. I'm curious to see what his opinion is on that Uruguay result just in general, because Panama at least had a little bit more threat. And the thing is, for that Uruguay-Panama match, also I think Uruguay can reach another level, and I guess we can start getting to that game.
Mm-hmm. Panama losing to Uruguay 3-1, getting a last-minute goal there to make the scoreline look a little nicer in my opinion. But Uruguay wins this game with a 2-goal gap. Darwin Nunez getting on the board after a crazy classic Darwin Nunez experience, missing a lot of opportunities, but ultimately getting on the board. And then Viña, I think, got the 3rd goal to finish the game off. And Panama had moments, man. They had moments, especially the beginning of that second half. For those first 20 minutes, I would say, they looked much better, and they responded after going down 1-0. Yeah. And as for Uruguay, they were up 1-0 pretty early on in this match through an Araujo banger, the Toluca Prada scoring an absolutely beautiful goal. But then they were unable to extend that lead for a long time, allowing Panama to stay in the match with their inability to finish. Because, bro, the chances were there. The chances were there. In a similar way to the USA, an inability to finish. And finally, they got them to go in at the very end with Darwin Nunez getting that 2nd goal and then a 3rd goal. And then Panama gets one back, 3-1.
Yeah, Uruguay were actually wasteful in front of goal. That's a small criticism you could say, but their chance creation was ridiculous. Panama could have conceded a lot more goals than they did today. Uruguay looked relentless, and that's why ultimately Panama just weren't going to be able to beat this side. Even though Panama had a really good second half, I'll give them that, but Uruguay looked very, very good. Yes, they weren't able to finish their chances, but maybe just a bad day at the office in front of shooting. So for Uruguay, I expect them to be just as good, but I do expect them to finish in their next couple of games.
Yeah, I just think it was kind of a similar thing with like the USA's approach to Bolivia. I think they were also a little sloppy. They're a little rusty to start off, and they just knew that ultimately they were going to get the 3 points. They were going to be better. And so, yeah, we saw some really interesting misses in this game. Thoughts on Gio Reyna playing very... Okay, not yet. We're not talking about that yet. Panama is going to be tough for the USA. I want to know where you think that matchup stands, because honestly, when you think about it, we might not get a good indication of where the USA matches up with Uruguay, because they face off in that 3rd round matchup, and the results might already be decided by then. And so I actually might get a better indication in that Panama-USA match. Seeing how Uruguay played against Panama, I want to know how you think the USA will perform against this Panamanian side now that we've seen their first performance here at the Copa America.
I have them winning it, right? I have this USA side going all the way to the semifinals. You can't lose against Panama if that's going to be true. Obviously, Panama have a lot of threat. Fajardo was fantastic today against Uruguay. So was Puma. Rodriguez, he was really, really good. The amount of times that Puma and Fajardo were able to get released on the outlet from passes from the midfield for Panama was fantastic. And it kept Uruguay very, very busy defensively. It was really fun to see. Martinez and Carrasquilla were really, really good when they got on the ball. It wasn't that often, more so in the second half for sure, but I thought Panama had a really good game offensively against Uruguay. They played the best that they could have. Maybe they could have gotten one more goal, and I think that would have been deserved. Panama definitely has goals in them, and I think we saw today against Uruguay. I expect the exact same threat against the United States. We can't sleep in that game, right? Against Bolivia, I'm fine with going second, third gear and getting a 2-0 win, but against Panama, we have to lock in and we have to be just as aggressive offensively, even more so than we were today. And our defense needs to be in sync against Panama or we will concede and the game will be very tight. And I don't want that.
I actually completely agree. It looks like the chat actually agrees too. A lot of people are choosing USA, but are saying that it might be a close match and that the USA has to lock in. They have to be focused. None of that sloppy stuff we saw against Bolivia. They do have to affirm themselves in this tournament and have a good performance. So I also expect them to win. I think anything beyond a win, like a tie, would be a warning sign for the USA. So they have to get the victory here. And as long as it's by a goal, I don't really care. If they get the victory, I think that'll be good enough for the USA going into that match against Uruguay.
Agreed.
I've seen predictions for 2-0. The USA got it 2-0, 2-1, 3-2. I think we're all on the same page here. So now I want to ask a general question to the chat. I just want to know where you guys stand because I know where you stand when it comes to this question. Where do you guys put the USA versus Uruguay? Who do you have as the better team? I want to know because I see a lot of USA fans in here and I know that you guys also believe in the potential for this American side in the same way that Christian Soltero does. What do you guys think? Who is the better team? Is it Uruguay? Is it USA? Do you believe? Do you believe in Captain America? Do you believe in the stars and stripes? Let me know. I want to see what you guys think in the chat. Is Uruguay the clear better team? Is the USA right there with them? What is it? What do you guys think? Not so much guessing what that third round matchup is going to be, the result of that, but more so just guessing which is the better team right now. Because I do think it's very close. Bandit says US spanking that Uruguayan clown ass. Alex Escobar says USA on top with 3 eagle emojis. Viva los Mexicanos says Falcon Solorio. Uruguay's better says John Tay Porter. Giancarlo Rosales says 1-2 Uruguay win. I'm seeing a lot of USA flags in the chat. USA. Pedro Celis says, I wish it was USA, but not there yet. Mm-hmm. And lastly, HRG says the U.S. men's national team is clearly the superior team at soccer. Now, football, you're probably getting demolished. Okay, a little bit of a joke there. You got me there with the word soccer. You got me there. Chris Vergara says Uruguay is better. Ultimately, their quality will show later in the tournament. And then much more USA love. The poll has Uruguay 68%, USA 32%. I actually agree with that. I think that's a good indication right there. Your thoughts?
It's going to be a really fun match. Just want to get that point there because that will be the indication of whether the USA is actually a serious title contender. That's going to be the indication. If the USA lose that game by more than 1 goal, then they're probably not making it past the quarters because Colombia or Brazil will await. I think they're on the same level as Uruguay. I could see a draw. I could see a one goal win for Uruguay. I could see a 1 goal win for the USA. I think it's literally 50-50 even.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Abraham Alani says Soltero has mentioned that USA has outgrown the CONCACAF and it's time to prove it again against South America. They have the talent. I believe the experience is what may favor Uruguay. J. Ross says Uruguay is a better team because the U.S. hasn't played their best players in a match a whole lot and they all had injuries throughout the football calendar. That's an interesting angle there. Injuries. Yeah.
Maybe not. I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah. USA won, Uruguay won, USA winning. I like this conversation because I do think it can go either way. I do agree with that aspect.
I do think it can.
I think it's more 60-40, but I still think it's very much there for the USA if they show up, especially if we see the best version of this USA team. They can definitely take it to Uruguay. I'm with you on that completely. So let's see what happens, man, because even if that third round matchup isn't a good indication because, I don't know, maybe they don't start their best teams and they're already advanced, later on in the tournament, we might get a better idea of how they are matched up against each other depending on how they perform against these top CONMEBOL and hopefully CONCACAF teams, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a banger either way. I'm so excited to see. The USA has to get the win against Panama, though. That's the next game. That's what my eyes are set to. If we get a draw in that match, then there's just no hope for the United States. Because for as good as Panama are, their defense is too open. It's too open to the point where Pulisic, Weah, Balogun, McKinney should be able to exploit it more often than we concede. So we have to beat Panama, just considering how open their defense is.
Just looking at the Panamanian narrative, if you tie the USA, you are then set with a third-round matchup against Bolivia, in which you're trying to overtake the USA, who only ultimately got 2 goals against Bolivia.
Mm-hmm.
If they tie USA, the tournament opens up for Panama, man.
Yeah.
And that's the fear.
Yeah.
A tie for the USA could ultimately mean the end of their Copa America run if things go dark. That's the fear there. That's the fear. So that's why there's pressure in that match, man.
Oh, there's huge pressure. And Panama know that they can threaten. They showed really good offense against Uruguay today. They'll need to be tighter defensively, though, because we have just as good of offense as Uruguay.
Yeah. Let's do awards for today. We only had 2 matches today, but let's do awards. Goal of the day, I think, has to go to Araujo.
Araujo's goal. I thought Pulisic was definitely going to get it, but Araujo's... Oh, it was beautiful. There was a little bit more pace on Araujo's too, so when it hit the back of the net, it was just an absolute banger.
And you don't see goals like that often.
Yeah.
Like that from the inside of his boot going over the keeper into the top right corner. It was an absolute beauty. That has to be the goal of the day. Performance of the day. Who gets the performance of the day? This one's interesting.
Performance of the day.
I'm thinking for Uruguay where they're standouts. I'm thinking for USA where they're standouts.
It would have been Darwin Nunez if he'd scored all his chances. A little bit more, yeah. Or Pulisic could have had like a hat trick of assists, but he was poor on his passing.
Murillo
but they all played really well. I mean, Murillo was really good with that goal, and he was just fantastic on the wings.
We'll let chat decide this one. I'm seeing a lot of Pulisic. We can go Pulisic.
We can go Pulisic.
Pulisic was great. We can go Pulisic on this one. Pulisic wins the performance of the day. And lastly, the game of the day. What did you guys think? The atmosphere was really good for the USA-Bolivia match. I was hyped listening to the national anthem. And then today, I think it was interesting watching the Uruguay-Panama matchup because Panama actually did compete, and that's the difference. They did compete for a little while in comparison to Bolivia, who just didn't, bro.
They did.
So I'm actually going to go Uruguay-Panama.
Yeah, it was a fun game, and especially in the second half when it was still just 1-0. Panama almost got close to equalizing it, and that would have been nuts if that had happened. Ultimately, they did get a goal, so yeah, it was definitely the better match.
Match previews. Let's do match previews. Predicting the results of tomorrow's games. We have 2 games in Group D with Colombia facing off against Paraguay. Colombia-Paraguay is the first match of the day. Who is winning this game? Who's winning this game? Because I think right off the bat, if Colombia wants to jumpstart their dark horse campaign as potential contenders of this tournament, they got to defeat this lowly Paraguayan side. They have to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have Colombia winning this 100%. I don't even have a draw in mind here. Like, Paraguay have 0 chance. 0.
I do think... I mean, yeah, it's just a difference in quality, man. Sometimes it really, really exposes itself in these tournaments with like the lower sides of Colombia facing off against the top sides, man.
Yeah.
And it looks like the chat agrees. Colombia, 98%.
Good. No, good. That's the percentage I want to see on that for sure.
Oh my God. I hope there's no Paraguayans in the chat, bro. I hope there's no Paraguayans in the chat, man.
It's going to be ugly for Paraguay.
Brazil, Costa Rica. For as big of a gap there is in quality here, I love watching Brazil play, man. I just can't. I don't know what else to say. I love watching them don that jersey, putting on a show. Brazil, Costa Rica. Who's winning this matchup? Who is getting the result here? Does Costa Rica find a way to pull off an incredible upset victory and add more drama to this already crazy Brazilian narrative? Or does Brazil show up, take care of business, and jumpstart their campaign?
Yeah, I mean, Brazil all the way here. Just like I have Colombia convincingly winning, I have the same thing for Brazil. They can, erase all of their past performances with a really solid start to this Copa America, give them some confidence, and they'll get 3 points immediately. I just don't see a path for Costa Rica to make this game tight. I really don't. Costa Rica will fight, though. They always do. They're still one of the better sides in Central America, but, if Panama got killed today 3-1... I kind of see very, very similar fate for Costa Rica.
I think so too. Even Costa Rican fans in the chat are saying the same thing. One man says, if you scroll up for me, producer Red, one man right there says, the lizard cop says, Viva los ticos, and then in parentheses, I am delusional.
Yeah.
Draw. CONCACAF represents, says Brap tails. And then Costa Rica masterclass, says Jesse Villasana. I mean, it would be beautiful to see. It really would. But the predictions I'm seeing is Brazil winning 3-0, Brazil winning 4-0, 5-0. I'm seeing a 6-0. I'm just seeing complete Brazilian dominance. And the thing is, I expect that. I expect that because anything else would be chaos, catastrophe for the Brazilian side. Brazil at 72% in our poll, Costa Rica at 13, draw at 14. Yep. That's how it's looking so far. But that'll close out the first round of the Copa America as we go into the second round in this next upcoming week. We got some great games coming up, and we'll answer a few questions here since the chat is so active.
Let's do it.
RB Comp says, can we talk about Venezuela and Bocho Batista? He's turned Venezuela into a well-drilled side at the Give and Go, making sure the message gets across.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw how they responded going up a man against Ecuador. I really like that they pushed for the win, knowing that 3 points would be valuable. I have not seen Venezuela that determined ever at a Copa America, realistically. I know they made it far in 2011, but it has been a long time since I've seen Venezuela really take it to teams. We've seen how good they've started at the CONMEBOL World Cup qualification for this next cycle. This is the most consistent and the most flair I've seen from a Venezuelan side ever. They're looking really good, not just with the personnel that they have, but also organizationally. Like, I agree, Batista, the coach, has this team believing in something finally for Venezuela. So yes, if you're Venezuelan, be very excited about this team.
Yeah, dude, I was just thinking about their history. Like, Venezuela and Ecuador don't have a good Copa America history. And the fact that they got their first comeback win in Copa America history for their country I think it was just yesterday in that game against Ecuador, I think is so indicative of the change that we're seeing for Venezuela. So much so that if they lose every single game that's left for them at this tournament, they should leave happy because they got 3 points and a comeback victory. Like, that should be enough given their history in this tournament, man. It's been bad for them. And so I think that there's a shift happening. I don't know if it's that stark or that intense, but it's something good. It's something positive.
Good. Exactly.
And it makes that matchup against Mexico even more interesting because if Mexico can beat them, we are through. But we got to get past probably one of the better Venezuelan sides that we've seen in a while, man. In a while.
Yeah, Venezuela are making Group B interesting because now there's really no weak team. And we saw how tight Jamaica can make things. So Group B all of a sudden becomes really entertaining.
Yep. Chris Vergara says, not a question, but Santi needs to have a good game versus Venezuela. Could be huge for us if he shows up. Completely agree, man. I mean, when I went off on him yesterday, I was disappointed with his performance. His touches, his movement just doesn't look like he's that confident right now. I need to see him step up because he's being handed the keys to the offense, and it seems like he doesn't want him, bro. He just doesn't want him.
He doesn't want him.
And so I need to see him step up and take on that throne. But it's a big position, bro. The striker for the Mexican national team has always been one filled with great talent. Maybe the shoes are too big to fill here, man.
It just sucks because for him to succeed with Mexico, he has to completely change how he plays at club level. Because at club level, he's just constantly receiving. And the wingers and midfielders that he has are so much more talented than Mexico's. So when he wears a Mexico jersey, he has to think differently, but he has yet to do so. And I think that's what's really frustrating. He has to understand that. And I wish he would just go to the ball a little bit more, try to just hold up play a little bit more. And I understand he wants to be in the box, but being in the box with no service is not going to help anybody. So I just want to see him adapt his game. It's not going to be easy against Venezuela, right? He struggled against Jamaican defense. It's going to be just as hard, if not harder, against Venezuela. So he's got to really step up.
Facts, bro. Facts. Let's look at a super chat that we got earlier from one of the fans listening to the Give and Go. We have Bvart saying, "Hear me out. USA in the semifinals at least, brother. If there was any place to say that, it's right here in front of the one and only Soltero, who has been spewing that for damn near 2 years now."
Almost 2 years I've been saying, the moment we get to the Copa America, USA is going to the semifinals at least. I still believe it, even though a lot of people want to criticize this Bolivia 2-0 win. It does not matter. We're going to the semifinals. Bevarts, I agree with you.
That'd be nuts, and I mean that in a good way. Like, ultimately, that is what I want for this USA team, to get to the semifinals. I'll take back everything I said about them if they get to the semifinals. I'll be pro Berhalter. I'll do everything if they get to the semifinals. It just would be such a massive result to do that, especially given the path that they have to get to the semifinals. Andy Q Hood Bro says, hashtag Berhalter out. We should have won 5-0. I'm angry, bro. I mean, yeah, that's the other side of U.S. fans.
I know. I get it.
We got the really optimistic ones and we got the really pessimistic ones. That's how it goes right now, man. That's the game right now.
I get it, man. I get it. But still believe this was not a bad game for the USA. Yeah. Yes, we were a little sloppy at times. I cannot deny that. But we will turn up against Uruguay and Panama. I guarantee it.
And I believe you. I agree with you there. Bevarts lastly says, what does it say if USA doesn't make it? I think he means out of the group. Bro, that would be nuts. I think he sent that when we were talking about the Panama narrative. That'd be disaster.
That'd be bad, bro.
You'd be crying on stream.
It would be worse.
Hours straight.
It would be worse than Mexico not getting out of the group of the World Cup. This would be worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, because they're just more. The odds are in their favor for them to get out of this group.
We're hosts, bro.
Yeah.
We're hosts. We have to get out of this group. That's why I'm putting a lot of pressure on them to not just tie Panama, but we have to beat them. I don't care how good Panama is. We have to win that match. A draw won't do it for me.
This game against Panama, you're getting me hyped.
Yeah,
this game is going to be
fun.
big, man. It's going to be big in Mexico versus Venezuela. I think the second round of Copa America is going to be much more interesting than the first round because I think the first round matches were honestly pretty much like in the favor of the teams that are better. Like they're all clear. Like even tomorrow's matches, they're so clear. I think the teams we predict are going to win are going to win. Yeah. Second round is going to get crazy. Lastly, Brando Torres says, been subscribed to you guys since y'all did a live stream playing FIFA. That's crazy. We did that like
oh my God,
2 years ago.
That was a while ago.
Best podcast there is at the moment. We'll be present tomorrow at the Brazil game. Vamos Brasil, Visca Brasil, Viva León. Damn,
wow,
dude.
Damn, hey,
my
shout
goodness,
out
Leon.
My friend. Shout out Brazil. Let's go, man. Have fun at the game.
Yeah, man. Join us for the stream after that match and let us know what your thoughts were on the atmosphere and everything. I want to know because we haven't gone to any games yet. I want to see what that experience is like. So let us know, Brandon. Once again, thank you for your comment. Guys, we are clocking out. Thank you so much for watching this stream. We will be back tomorrow with Euros reactions and just continuing our coverage of both the Euros and Copa America. Great stream, guys. Thank you so much for joining. See you guys soon. Peace.